example, in scientific modeling in STEM education, how good is GPT in modeling, and not the question how good, but how can it be used effectively in modeling. For example, if you try to model the impact of sickness, or then you come up with a mathematical model, is GPT able of doing so, and how accurate is it? And what do you need to provide that the solution is satisfying? The other is assessment in math education. This is a fairly new project, but it has a lot of really interesting results already. I will present them later. So can GPT be used for automated assessment and diagnostics? I will come to that later because it's really cool result. If you have any questions, as Laura said, raise your hands, and Laura may see it. And if you raise your hand and I don't react, then feel free to unmute yourself and remind me that you have something to say. So the first thing is what I was asked recently: why ChatGPT? You may know few or all of these AI tools. AI tools have been around in STEM education for a while now, but many of them are not so intuitive to use, or maybe we think that. And GPT gained a lot of popularity, and GPT is really, really easy to use. You have a chat line, you talk with it, and then you start. And this is the reason why we now focus on GPT. But there are, let's say, at least a few things I would like to mention with these other ones. Here you have, I don't know if you know them, and we also provide you with a list of interesting AI tools, but most AI tools concentrate on a certain area of application, and GPT is very universal. This is good and bad together. We will come to that in the end a little bit more, but if you are really interested, you can try these we noted, and much more out. They have really awesome cool features, and yeah, you can use them. So I'm hoping I'm not talking too fast. Oh no, I'm not talking too fast. I'm talking too slow. As I pointed out, GPT is ready to use, and it's extremely powerful if you use it correctly, and it's cost-free if you take the basis variant. I will mainly focus on the basis variant, but at some points I will also explain what can the pro variant do and why. What is the difference? Just to explain, you have 3 versions of GPT. You can access GPT 3.5 is accessible on the GPT homepage. Just Google it. You can log in, create an account for cost-free, and just then log in. It's comparatively easy. The second one is GPT 4. It's much faster than the and much more capable of the old version, which is free. But if you have Microsoft 365, so the Microsoft Office license, then you can access it for free under the name of Microsoft Copilot. And then there is GPT Pro. It's the version 4. This is the same as I mentioned above, but you have to pay $20 per month. But with this, you can produce pictures, you can upload documents, and it can work in the documents and produce new documents itself. So it can, for example, if you have a desire for an Excel table which should solve a problem, it can produce it for you, and you can directly download it, which is really interesting. Then there are more variants, but they are mainly interesting for industry use. Besides the fact that there is a variant which does not use your inputs for further development, for training. This can be for teachers a data protection issue. So it could be interesting for schools in the future, but we are now in the beginning. We are working 1 year with this technology. There's much to be clarified and much to be tested. So what we will do today, we will show you, I hope, some interesting examples. We provide you with a cheat sheet. A cheat sheet is just a document where some prompts are written in. You can use them if you want to modify the answer you get from GPT. We will provide you with a download link at the end, and we have also some references. scientific and practice references. You can read them later to see that what I'm telling you is also validated to some point or to some extent. What we won't do, I will not explain you how AI and the learning works. Here we are talking about neural networks. I will not do this. I also will not cover the topic image generation. It's a thing for itself, using AI to produce accurate images. It's not trivial, and it would really cover another session. Then AI data analysis and coding. You can use GPT to produce your code or web pages and something like that, to produce interesting web tools or to analyze data. This is a topic for itself, and it's that much large that I cannot cover it here, so I won't do it. But if you are interested in something, a topic like that, write us an email, and if enough people are really interested in that, we may come up with such a workshop in a near future. Legal issues, I will not cover them in detail, but at some points I will mention them. And then there's, of course, the thing, what do you do when your students use GPT to solve your homework? I cannot cover that here. This is something the ministries have to work out, and this is not addressed yet because it's almost undetectable if an AI produced a text or not. So there are a lot of areas of application of GPT in STEM education, and we will cover 3 of them. Lesson planning and implementation is the first one. It's also the most important thing for us teachers. Then we have assessment and diagnostics, is how good are students, where could they develop, have they some misconceptions, how could we help them? This can also be done with GPT, but there we have to be a little bit careful. And then we also have a lot of administrative stuff. These 3 topics I will cover today with examples. Professional development, individualized learning, and research will not be covered. We have a lot of examples from that, and I really would like to cover it, but we had to reduce to be in this half an hour. So let's start. Short remark. If you chat with GPT, really the first thing is be gentle, polite. There is research saying you get better results if you are nice to GPT. I looked up the methodology. I'm not sure if it's really a solid statement, but who knows, and it doesn't hurt. Of course, you have to be precise as possible, but what is really important, build in a quality assurance. So he should be be precise in your prompt, be scientific, test your argument. And if you get an answer, maybe to a problem you posted, then maybe let GPT test its own answer. Sometimes it finds out, hey, what I told you is completely wrong. You will test it out yourself in the exchange phase, and then you hopefully I gave you an example which showed that GPT is sometimes questioning himself or itself. So let us start with lesson planning and implementation. I actually planned to do this prompts online, but since GPT sometimes has connectivity issues, I decided to just picture them and explain what happened. So the first thing I would like to try to use with a very basic example from STEM education, which every STEM subject should understand. I asked GPT, please, yeah, you can read it yourself. They should explain to me Newton's first and second law for me with an academic background. What you see, you get a comparatively complex answer with a complex vocabulary, and it's good to understand. Maybe you read it for 2 minutes or 1 minute, and then we will go further, what we can go on with this. So you don't have to read it all, just a few lines of them, you see what you get. Yeah. Was there a question? Okay. So Then I asked GPT, could you rephrase your text such that a 12-year-old can understand it? And that's a fun thing. Why is this important? Yes, it was able to do so, but in practical things, you often work with books you have digitally or sources from the internet which are not adjusted to your target group. So you can easily get a reformulation of the text in a vocabulary that another target group could understand, for example, young students. This is extremely time reducing. From this point on, you can say, okay, now give me a few PowerPoint slides, produce me PowerPoint slides that cover these topics and tell me what pictures I should choose to illustrate these rules. Is so far clear what I'm trying to tell you?
I think it's fine, Oliver.
Okay. So now we have our topic. We got an explanation that students can understand it, and now the next question is of lesson planning and implementation is what could I do with my students in class? A typical, at least in physics education in Germany, a typical thing you could do for students in the 8th grade is to use a so-called gap text. So I asked it, could you provide a gap text and also include some of the units that are used there? Now, you in a few seconds, really, almost instantly, you get a text you can use for students. From this on, you could also get some, let GPT provide you some basic exercises and some applications of the things it learned. It shows you one thing. If you instruct him correctly, he can can produce text you can use, and you can also produce exercises. But if you ask GPT to produce a student an hour of physics education, it will not work because you have to individualize it to your own needs, and he's not, or it is not a teacher. Okay, so let me give you the second example. In mathematics, I now took mathematics. The first thing should be very straightforward. Now, the second thing is, I think all of us can a little bit mathematics. And the thing is, I needed a set of polynomials and I wanted to have only nice solutions. So I asked him to produce it. You really see it, you get your results, you get it also nicely formatted. And I asked all zeros should be natural numbers and the extreme values also. But if you look at this example a little bit in more detail, then you can look at the solutions. I wanted to provide the solutions. And then you see, hey, the numbers are not natural numbers. It could also be irrational numbers, like the plus minus square of 5. Now, what I wanted to show you is that you have to give exact instructions. GPT can in really short time produce you materials you may use, but you have to double check it. Are there any questions so far?
I think you can continue.
So, I'm sorry. Now, let me summarize this a little bit. What you can do with while lesson planning. You can produce content. However, you have to be very
Oliver, there's a question in the chat.
yeah.
How to make it not do mistakes?
Yes, that's a very good question, and it can be easily answered. Tell it, produce solutions, and then if you got your solutions, ask it, does it fulfill the requirements I asked before? Yeah, the point is sometimes it also ignores a precise prompt. It's gotten much more better, but you have to, so I have a Word document where I have my prompts in a line, and then I always make the same thing, produce me this and that, okay, then produce me the solutions, and then I have use the standard code. I ask you for that and that, can you please verify that the things you provided me fulfill this? So I would have asked in this context, hey, are the zeros really all natural numbers? And then what then happens is it's calculated and then says, no, I have to change two of the exercises, and then it provides you new ones. But to say it's much more better, it became much better than it was a year ago. A year ago, it provided completely false solutions. Now they are in general correct. And yeah, this also happens with the paid version. So I will later come to the point, do you need the paid version or not? Let me walk you through this, and we will come to an answer together, I think. The point is what you really, what I think what is really good. You can provide, give him some parameters and provide him exercises. But what is much more capable is summarizing large amount of text, example from a book, and then providing you slides for a presentation. But whenever it has to compute something, at the moment it's not perfect. Of course, you always have to overwork also slides, but this works comparatively good. You do not need too much time to invest in the slides. With the solutions, I always calculate them through. What you also can do is what I told you is concept adaptation, like rephrase the text, make it more be suitable for maybe 12th graders or 10th graders. This is what really works good. And also what you can ask it is, are my exercises or exams, are they correct? Are the questions understandable? It gives very, very good feedback. What is much more sophisticated than I cannot cover today is what you also can produce is digital learning content. Learning websites, digital escape games. I tested it also I produced a website recently with some interactive elements for myself, for my personal homepage, and I was astonished how fast it can be produce a web code for digital content. But how to do this is really, really a long story, and I cannot cover this today. So to the end, you always can ask him basic exercises. Mostly they work very good, and the solutions you get are in general correct if the topics are not too sophisticated. It has its problems when the GPT has to understand some real-life context behind it. So standard exercises in physics are easy, standard exercises in mathematics are easy. But for example, a more complex question in mathematics would be, do you know these logs which are hanged at bridges when two people love each other? You know them? In Germany, you see this very often on bridges. We call them love logs. And we asked GPT to model how many of these logs are on a bridge. This is an open task, and it was understanding the content. And it made a solution. It was okay, but we saw it didn't really understand how the logs are. It assumed really this is just a plane, and the logs are glued on it. They didn't it didn't noted that you have to model it a little bit more precisely because you need to what heißt Gitter? Hello? Yeah. So the point is the logs on the bridge are hanging in various directions, and the modeling is much more sophisticated than GPT did. Are there any more questions to that? Juliana or Mrs. Roman, you can also later ask me in more detail if you want to chat with me directly in the exchange phase. I'm here. You also can ask me questions. The next thing is, yes, as I told you, be careful. And if you do research with GPT, always ask to provide references. These references make sure that what GPT is telling you is correct. In the beginning, GPT hallucinated. It made up some sources. It made up some facts. It became much better, and especially the paid version really gives good evidence, provides very good references now. But you are the expert, you have to check it. But in the end, when I ask for a topic and to get some references where it's explained, I got very good references recently. So the next thing is administrative stuff. So I made a hypothetical example. I have a student named Oliver. He is really not a good student, lazy, does not pay attention, no interest in STEM, and I have to write a report on him. I had to do this in school when I worked there. And so I asked him, hey, he is unacceptable as a student, but I cannot write this directly. Could you write me a report for the school about him? And I got that. And I think this was quite awesome. I mean, he talked a little bit too much, but he really met the tone and described this awful student Oliver in a very nice way and told he's a bad student, but he has a lot of unused opportunities. Why am I telling you this? If you need to write a text about somebody or something or a project, you just can put in some bullet points and make him up a really long text out of it. This really saves my day. And I think Laura agrees that we are working with the European Union. We have to do a lot of reports. It's really helping us a lot.
Yes, I agree.
I would like to give another example. And this is something my wife asked me actually. My wife is a chemistry and biology teacher, but she doesn't know how to use Excel in detail. So I asked GPT, I want to compute the grades of my students, and they have two written and 4 oral examinations a year. The general grade can be computed out of it, and what it delivered was this, and it really worked. Now, this you think maybe not so much time sparing, but for somebody who doesn't know that, it is time sparing. What we also did, we had a really large Excel data sheet with really unbelievable much information, and we had to analyze it and searching for keywords. And it did it for us in few seconds, even if we had used the search functions. It would have taken hours. So it can produce you something like form letters, official emails, Excel sheets you need. There's really much capability of reducing the administrative stuff. So for example, I have a plugin. When I write an email, I ask GPT, is the tone correct? Makes this all sense? And then I get some revisions. I'm not sure how many times I wrote an email and forgotten the attachment or made some typos. Now this is the past, I hope. And if not, it's solely GPT's response. Anyway, GPT can really help you in a lot of things. It speeds up emails, reports. It can also produce materials for form letters, for lesson plans, so that you have the infrastructure you need to work. It can also monitor student development. So if you insert Excel sheets with the grades of your students and how they are developing, it can analyze which students are declining, which are going better, and give you some feedback. If this is necessary, I'm not sure at the moment, but it is capable of doing so. But now we come to the point, I think, which is maybe a game changer if it really works, the thing we are observing right now. And the point is assessment, diagnostics, and evaluation. What do I mean with diagnostic? If students have do not understand something correctly. Maybe they have a misconception. Maybe they don't know how to add fractions. I give you a very basic example. This is a typical student solution with a misconception. There was a question, does the free version produce Excel sheets? No, but it can produce you the code you have to put in the fields, and it's really effective. And also it can provide you a sheet which you can directly copy in your Excel sheets. So the answer is yes and no. It does not produce a downloadable Excel sheet, but it produces a sheet which you can copy in an Excel sheet and which works effectively. Okay, now we have here a student solution, and we see the student has the very prominent problem. He adds up denominator, the things are above and below the fraction line. So he didn't understand that you have to come to a common denominator. This is a typical misconception in mathematics. And now the question is, does ChatGPT detect something like that? Well, let's start. I gave him these solutions, and he provided me with that. I think this is not so good. It's okay, but I know that the solutions are wrong. However, and now you see how you have to work with GPT. If you question again, does this student have any misconceptions, then he really comes up with the typical misconceptions and also make some suggestions what to do. And if you ask him or it, I'm sorry, I'm mixing that all up. If you ask it, then it would also provide you with some exercises to resolve this issue. Now, it doesn't sound so much at the moment. However, here you see the task it gives you. However, let's think of another scenario. Let's think we don't have the typed in solutions on the computer, but we have the handwritten exams. Let us think we could scan them and load it up to GPT. What would it be able to detect misconceptions there? So if you have an exam of 30 students and then you scan all the solutions, can it correct your students' solution, your student tests, and also diagnose some misconceptions? And the answer is a little bit. I'm sorry. Yes. What did we do? We took, I think it's 100 student solutions. They were handwritten, and we used ChatGPT 4. We provided him with a basic literature on typical misconceptions and how to detect them. And the answer is, interestingly, the assessment, if it's correct or not, is almost 100% correct if it was able to read the handwritten notes. The detection of misconceptions was about 90% correct. If, again, the handwritten notes were interpreted correctly. However, the interpretation of handwritten notes is not the best capability of ChatGPT, but there's other software which can do this. This means combining ChatGPT with such an OCR tool, which is decoding handwritten notes, really could make it possible to correct a class set, at least in this area, a set of tasks of 30 students in approximately 4 or 5 minutes, and also diagnose if there are some misconceptions. Just to give you a hint, the typical accuracy rate of teachers that given tests in this area of mathematics, they detect about 60% of misconceptions. What I don't say is that GPT is the better teacher. No, but GPT may if data protection issues are not a problem, maybe here to support you, to support you with correcting student solutions. However, we did this just for the case of decimal numbers and fractions. I think the things are getting more complicated if you are coming to word problems or in higher grades. However, again, if it can pre-correct your exams, it may help you a lot. What I did, I had an old exam from a student and scanned it and asked GPT to correct it, and it was able to detect the handwritten notes. The student had a very nice handwriting, and it almost corrected 80% of the exam, and always noted when it does not know what there happened. So what I think is that here we could really reduce the amount of time we use. So here there were a lot of questions. Is there an option to talk with it, not only chat and give it comments that way? I think there was ChatGPT had the possibilities of plugins, and there was a plugin, I think, that was able to do so. I think it is able to do so if you do it with the handy. I have to check it now, but I'm coming back to you and check that. I wasn't following that, but it's a very good question. Then maybe we can ask our questions like this. Yes, this is also, you will see at the cheat sheet, you can use prompts like act you are a science teacher or act like you're a scientist or a politician. And based on this, this thing, it will give you a different answer. And also the accuracy in certain areas differs when you give such prompts, maybe as a science teacher, as a math teacher, or as a kindergarten child. So I know I took too much time. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. So maybe let me just trying to summarize it. ChatGPT has its limitations. So I asked it to visualize Newton's second law in an image, and that came out. That's absolutely useless. If you know how to communicate effectively and know the limitations and what the biases are, you can really effectively use it in teaching and in everyday life. However, we have to note that the use of AI is a digital competency. You know, competencies consist of knowledge, skills, and attitudes. And I think what we have to do is we have to be very, very careful how to use it and how our students learn how to use it. Yeah, this picture came out when I asked ChatGPT what it would like if ChatGPT would take over the world. It was a little bit scary, I think. Okay, so from my perspective, this was the input. I really would like to go into much more details and provide you much more examples and discuss them with you, but this would be in person much better, and I would take much more time. However, I would like you to try ChatGPT yourself. You have 3 options. You create an account at chat@openai.com. I will send it in the chat. So you have 3 possibilities to get an account. I think the easiest way is to try to go to Microsoft Copilot and see if you have a Microsoft license, you can use it. And if not, you could use Bing. Bing is a search engine. ChatGPT is integrated there. However, I don't like Bing, so it depends on you. And anyway, we would like now to try ChatGPT as a teacher. I stole this task I'm giving you in a few moments from another talk, which was attended by a colleague of mine. But the first thing is what you should try is you should try to use GPT to solve a STEM-related problem. You can choose one, but if you want to have one where GPT is struggling, then you take the following one, the glass problem. When you put glasses into each other, the first glass has a certain height, and then it's always the difference between the two glasses, which comes to add to the stack of glasses. So I would say you try it out. You are in a small group, and then you can discuss these questions. What do you think? How accurate? How is the accuracy? Did you need to help GPT with the solutions? And what do you see for possibilities of GPT as a teaching tool? Are there any questions so far?
Okay, if not, I will divide you in the breakout sessions. And yeah, we spend a lot of time for your presentation. Thank you, Oliver, for that. Is a 20 minutes exchange okay for you?
I would say 10 minutes.
10 minutes, okay.
I think they can solve it, and then we summarize it.
Okay.
But I see also some, as you pointed out, people who do not want to exchange can leave, of course. I thank you
Yes.
very much for your joining me today.